I'm pregnant, so he's mine now. You should also leave the company you run with him. I had a feeling my sister had a thing for my husband. But I couldn't believe that he would choose her over me and betray me. Or so I thought. It turns out I didn't need to believe that at all. As her older sister, it seems I need to clear up her misunderstanding. Oh my dear sister, hope you're ready for the truth. Open your ears wide and keep your eyes peeled to face the truth. Welcome to the beginning of a fun and tumultuous story woven by sisters. Just kidding. My name is Kate. I made my debut with hay fever at the age of 40 last year. I used to love both spring and autumn, but now they've become wicked seasons filled with flying pollen. I've even come to hate going on a walk to see flowers. Back in my 20s, when I still loved cherry blossom, my husband Tom lost his job due to a recession. We searched for jobs together, but the economic downturn made vacancies scarce, and landing a job was difficult. So, with the mindset of if there's no company to hire us, let's create our own, Tom decided to start a business. I decided to work at the company to support him, and together with a few employees, we built it up. Thanks to our efforts, the business gradually took off, and we grew into a company with significant clients. And then, it was around that time that my younger sister, Sherry, started acting strange. It was during a year-end trip back home. "Hi, Tom." Sherry clung to my husband. I was certainly surprised, but my husband was even more shocked, looking as if a pigeon had been shot with a pea shooter. After all, until now, Sherry seemed uninterested in my husband. She didn't interact with him more than necessary, and often shut herself in her room when we visited. I thought, well, it must be awkward having a brother-in-law. And left it at that. But suddenly, she closed the distance. What on earth is going on? Tom, I have some delicious ice cream. Let's eat it together later. Sherry wrapped her arm around my husband's. My husband looked confused, not knowing what to do. Reluctantly, I peeled my sister off my husband, to which she said, "Come on, it's a special reunion. What's wrong with us getting along?" No, it wasn't like this before, right? I couldn't help but exchange glances with my husband. Sherry puffed her cheeks in dissatisfaction and declared, "Well, it's okay, I'll get along with Tom during this New Year's." Why all of a sudden? I just don't get it. However, as Sherry declared, she stuck close to my husband, and to my surprise, he seemed pleased that his previously indifferent sister-in-law had warmed up to him. Well, it's better than having bad family relations. But as I was thinking this nonchalantly, Sherry began to make sudden visits to our house. "Sherry, you were just here last week, go back to our parents' house." Come on. It's boring being a single woman every day, and when I come here, you and Tom will entertain me, right? Saying this with a chuckle, I do care for my sister and don't mind her visiting. But coming over 2 or 3 times a week is definitely abnormal. Moreover, every time she comes to our house, she sticks close to my husband, saying, "Tom, tell me about your work." It looks like she's trying to flatter him. I'm frustrated with myself for seeing my sister in such a light, and I'd prefer if she didn't come to our house anymore. Once, my sister asked me, "Hey, sis, what's it like having your husband as the boss?" Even though he's the boss, he's still my husband, and there's nothing special about it. When I honestly told her that, Sherry looked somewhat disappointed and said, "Big sis, you have such a wonderful husband and you don't even realize his value." Needless to say, I felt like I was being looked down upon by the way she spoke. Or perhaps, that was indeed the case. On the day she made this remark, for some reason, Sherry pestered my husband to give her his contact information, and she managed to get his phone number. Starting to see my sister as aiming for my husband, I panicked and raised my voice without thinking. "Why do you need to exchange contact information with Tom? You two don't need to communicate." Even my husband tried to calm me down, saying, "Relax." I was fuming, almost hissing like a cat in a fight. Sherry retorted, "Kate, you're like a psycho. We're family, so it should be fine to know each other's number. Indeed. It's not unusual for in-laws to exchange contact information. I have exchanged phone numbers with my husband's parents and sister as well. But, I couldn't help but think something has been odd about Sherry lately. Later, I found out that around this time, Sherry had undergone laser treatment to remove a mole on her face. Encouraged by the successful treatment, she started considering getting her eyelids and nose done, thinking about cosmetic surgery. However, Sherry's earnings were not enough to achieve her desired appearance. That's why she set her sights on my husband, the president. At the time, I didn't know any of this and just felt that something's odd about my sister, which seemed eerie. My husband said, "I can't just ignore your sister." Understanding his point, but it made me worry even more that maybe someday she will take my husband from me. Gradually, I started to lose confidence as a woman. Whether she knew of my anxiety or not, Sherry started showing up at the company to ambush my husband. She would wait for him to finish work, go home together, have dinner, and after spending some time close to him, she would return to our parents' house. Even my husband started to subtly suggest, "You should probably head back home early." But Sherry wouldn't listen. Watching this unfold, I began to wonder if maybe my husband wasn't entirely averse to the idea. A while later, my husband had to go on a business trip out of the prefecture for about 2 months to start a new venture with a client. He would occasionally return to check on the company but would immediately go back to the business trip location. As the days without seeing my husband continued, Sherry, who had been persistently waiting in front of the company, gradually stopped appearing. By then, knowing about Sherry's intentions for cosmetic surgery, I was convinced. I thought she is definitely after my husband. I hoped she would give up on him, but then one day, I saw Sherry after getting off work. "Sherry. Tom isn't here today." "No, it's not about him. I came to see you today, Kate." "Me?" "Yes. I am here because I am carrying your husband's child. You know what that means, right? I'm pregnant, so he's mine now. You should also leave the company you run with him. I'll take over everything, the position of lawful wife and the president's wife." "What do you mean?" "Exactly what I said. I haven't told him yet, but this is the ultrasound picture I got today." Stunned, Sherry handed me the ultrasound picture she apparently got from the obstetrician, clearly showing a fetus. Was I betrayed by my husband? No, but he's been on a business trip, he shouldn't have had the time. But then again, the business trip location is not that far from here. It might be possible for him to meet Sherry after work. Thinking about it, the idea of my husband and Sherry having an affair wasn't absolutely impossible. So that's the situation. I'm sure I'll be working at the company soon, so quickly hand in your resignation. You wouldn't want to see your cute little sister in distress, would you? Gracefully give up your position. Thank you. With a smile that dripped poison, Sherry said, "I need to take care of myself now that I'm pregnant. It's getting cold, so I'll head back now, see you." She then briskly walked away, leaving me behind to board a taxi she had waiting. There was no evidence of my husband's infidelity. But there was also no evidence to prove his innocence, and recently, his interactions with my sister were too frequent. Moreover, my sister herself claimed to be pregnant. Even if the ultrasound photo was fake, there seemed to be no reason for her to tell such an easily disprovable lie. Oh, I've been abandoned by my husband. It's time for a divorce. That night, I hardly slept. I thought closing my eyes would immerse me in happy memories, but surprisingly, trivial matters and memories of arguments came flooding back. Those memories, more poignant than the happy ones, made me think sarcastically. To be able to argue was a form of happiness. With that, I fell asleep. 2 days later, when my husband returned from his business trip, I handed him the divorce papers and my resignation letter, apologizing for bringing work home. "What's this?" he said, at a loss for words. "I heard about it. You and Sherry. You've been seeing each other, haven't you? I had no idea. And now that she's pregnant, I have no choice but to step aside. I laughed dryly, and my husband angrily responded. What are you talking about? Taken aback, I asked. Huh? In confusion. Explain what you mean. He demanded, clearly infuriated. I nervously recounted what my sister had told me. So that's why Sherry has been calling me so much these past few days. I've been mostly ignoring her calls unless it was something urgent. She probably wanted to tell me about the pregnancy. His face hardened as he spoke. Kate, we're calling Sherry over tomorrow to talk about this with everyone. Okay. So, we decided to take a day off work to meet with my sister for a discussion. We arrived a bit early at the restaurant with private rooms we had chosen for the meeting, and Sherry showed up on time. Tom, what up calling me out so suddenly, what's the matter? Kate is here too. Oh, is it about the divorce? You told Kate to divorce me and leave the company because you're pregnant? Yes, of course. I mean, it would be uncomfortable with her around if we're getting remarried, right? Don't joke with me. There's no way I'm divorcing Kate. What? You tricked me? So I was just a fling? My sister exploded in anger, glaring at both of us. Sigh. Listen, Sherry. When you supposedly got pregnant, I was out of the prefecture. Here's the proof. He then showed receipts from his business trip, including ones from restaurants and hotels, proving he had been living out of a hotel and attending evening receptions for nearly 2.5 months. Why? What does this mean? But we met, didn't we? Clearly confused, Sherry couldn't claim the receipts were fake. I hate to say this, Sherry. But could it be that you were meeting this guy? She stiffened as my husband silently handed her a photo. This is you, right? In the photo was a man who looked just like my husband. Or rather, exactly like him. No, look closely. There's a mole near his temple. I don't have that. He brushed his hair aside to show his temple. Sherry's face turned pale. If he's not you, then who is this person? To her question, my husband sighed deeply and began to speak reluctantly. He's my cousin. He's been disowned by our family because of his debts and goes around asking relatives for money, so he's someone to be wary of. He's caused me trouble multiple times because we look alike, even our voices are similar. I haven't seen him in almost 6 years, so I had no idea what he was up to. Never thought he'd be around here. He sighed, guessing his cousin might have come looking for a handout, knowing he ran a company. Stunned, Sherry listened as Tom asked if she had his cousin's contact information. She nodded and, with trembling hands, took out her phone to call Mike, Tom's cousin. Soon after, led by a staff member, an unsuspecting Mike arrived. Attempting to flee upon seeing Tom, Mike was forcibly caught by Tom, who shouted, "Don't run away. Is it true you got Sherry pregnant, Mike? Tell me what happened." Tom raised his voice unusually. Sherry murmured. So it really wasn't Tom. Under Tom's coercion, Mike began to recount the events. It started when Sherry, mistaking Mike for Tom while she was waiting for him, approached him. Despite feeling odd about him being in casual clothes, she thought it might just be an off day for him. It was understandable, given how similar Mike and Tom looked. Even I doubted I could distinguish Tom from Mike if they stood side by side. According to Mike, he came to ask Tom for money after hearing he had become a company president. When Sherry approached him while he was loitering near the company, being called Tom, he didn't take it in the sense of a familial relationship, but rather as if she was simply calling out to a nearby guy, thinking he was being hit on. Thus, under mutual misunderstanding, they ended up at a hotel and became intimate. Thinking she had secured a relationship with my husband, Sherry suggested they continue seeing each other. Mike, facing a certain issue, had to be cautious about her proposition and thus gave her his email address, saying, "It's better if you contact me here." This became the second trap that kept Sherry from realizing her mistake between Mike and Tom. Tom had given Sherry his phone number, while Mike gave her his email. Sherry had previously expressed a desire for Tom's email, which he had declined, saying it would be inconvenient if she contacted him without a serious reason. Thus, she believed the email exchange signified a closer relationship. After hearing Mike's story, Tom was again distraught. "I had no idea it had gotten this bad." Sherry, suspicious, asked, "What? Is there more?" "It's a shame it wasn't Tom, but since he's family, at least he'll take responsibility for the child, right?" He wouldn't dare shirk his responsibility, would he? With Tom unable to bring himself to say it, I decided to share what Tom had told me the night before. "Listen, Sherry. Yeah. Mike is married. That's why he gave you his email. A married man doesn't have many chances to answer his phone, right?" "What? Huh?" Sherry glared at Mike, who avoided her gaze, saying, "Sorry, I thought you were just into playing around. Never realized you mistook me for Tom. I had a feeling something was off in our conversations, but I never imagined you were pregnant. So what about me? What about the baby? I'd appreciate it if you didn't have the baby." His non-committal response made Mike chuckle awkwardly, infuriating Sherry. "Don't joke around. It's your child." At her outburst, I couldn't help but interject. "Mike is a terrible man, sure, but you're no better, Sherry. You lured him in, thinking he was my husband. You probably thought getting pregnant was a stroke of luck, didn't you? And now that you've found out he's someone else, you turn to blame the man? You're equally at fault for recklessly creating a child. You have no right to blame Mike. Both of you are to blame. Don't try to use the child as a tool to earn money for yourself. Save up for your cosmetic surgery or just give up on it with the face you have." I raised my voice, forgetting we were in a public place, relieved we had chosen a private room. But I had no choice. I felt like I couldn't earn enough on my own. Sherry retorted defiantly. "If you can't earn it yourself, then just give up. No matter how beautiful you look on the outside, it means nothing if your heart is ugly." Sherry seemed about to argue back, but couldn't come up with a good response, ultimately looking down silently. Mike, sheepishly, spoke up. Sherry. What if? I mean, if you decide to have the baby, I guess I don't have to acknowledge it, right? I doubt I can pay child support, considering I owe money to quite a few places." "Unbelievable." Sherry glared at Mike, slapping him in frustration, blaming him. However, she fell silent. "Whether I have the baby or not, I don't have the money. Kate, please help me." She began to cry. In my heart, I thought about what's best for the unborn child, considering if Sherry truly changed her ways, the child could have a happy life. However, I didn't appreciate her self-centered approach. I honestly shared my feelings. If you can truly reflect and think about the child's future, whether you decide to keep it or not, then I might be willing to help. Although I resented how Sherry had behaved, the unborn child was innocent in all this. My offer was not about forgiving my sister, but about helping the child. Sherry silently agreed after I made it clear this was about the child, not her. Later, Sherry decided she wanted to keep the baby, saying she felt a love for it when she saw the ultrasound. She expressed a desire to take responsibility and raise the child. I decided to lend her the necessary funds for childbirth and initial child care expenses. Mike, however, disappeared, unable to be held accountable. Sherry faced being disowned by our parents after explaining the situation, struggling as a single mother without much education. Despite hardships, including working in unsavory jobs and enduring abuse, Sherry persevered, taking medical administrative courses and repaying the money while raising her child alone. She vowed to devote herself to her child, forsaking relationships and marriage. It's remarkable how much she has changed, focusing on providing a stable life for her child without any rumors or distractions, even studying stocks and taking on side jobs. Meanwhile, My husband and I have been blessed with 2 children, managing to balance work and family life. Our daughter has become very popular at our company, possibly eyeing a future role in public relations. Sherry's transformation and dedication to her child have been profound, offering a glimmer of hope for reconciliation and a better future for her and her child. It's a testament to the power of change and the impact of unconditional love for one's child. It sounds like you've created a warm and nurturing environment for your children, allowing them the freedom to choose their own paths, whether that includes taking over the family business or pursuing their own dreams. It's wonderful that you're supportive of their interests, even if your son's current ambition is as unique as wanting to become a flying squirrel. Children's dreams are often vivid and imaginative, reflecting their pure and boundless potential. Who knows? Maybe by the time your son grows up, there will be a place for him in the company that aligns with his interests, or perhaps he'll find a completely different path that fulfills him. The strong sibling bond between your children is something to cherish, and it's great that they get along so well now. Maintaining that relationship as they grow older will surely bring them comfort and support, no matter where life takes them. As parents, showing your children the value of hard work, dedication, and the importance of family through your actions is incredibly powerful. The hope that one day they'll look back and see their parents as role models is a beautiful aspiration. It seems like you and your husband are well on your way to achieving that, balancing work and family life with grace and resilience.